So if it's hard for us to stay off with our fully developed brains, imagine what this is doing to kids. And the scary thing that I've learned about the kids, it is rewiring their brains. I think parents need to know exactly what's going on with these devices and what it's doing to their kids. Because to me, you might as well be handing your kid a cigarette because it is going to give them an addiction and it's going to ruin part of their life physically and emotionally.
Hello and welcome to another edition of The Measuring Post. I've got another fantastic guest for you today, and she is the creator of the Planet Fassa, a world of books, activities, and tools, all designed to spark real-world play and reduce screen dependency. So if you have kids that are glued to their iPhones, their Androids, their tablets, this is definitely an episode that you're going to want to tune in for. She's also the author of the Fassa Tales series, which is a bunch of animal characters based on your beloved pets, offering imaginative stories paired with playful activities, and really just sort of giving some ways for you to take those screens away from those little eyes. She's also the creator of the Fassa Nuggets of Fun app. This is a family app that provides a healthy way to connect with technology and also have more fun connecting with one another. She's going to be hosting an upcoming podcast, not quite released yet. We'll get into that. She's also the creator of Break the Chain, a coaching series which she just launched that's going to help adults reclaim presence and creativity. However, like I mentioned, the podcast is underway soon. We'll talk to her in just a moment about that. But for now, please welcome Miss Shannon Coulter to the Measuring Post. Shannon, how are you today?
I am doing great. How are you, Joe?
I am not bad. Happy to finally have you on. I know we've been talking for a couple of weeks now, and honestly, when you told me your message about screen dependency as a father with two kids, my son's a little older. He kind of grew up on the front end of that. My daughter completely consumed with technology. Your mission really spoke to me, and it really resonates, I'm sure, with a lot of parents who, obviously this is the world we live in where they, even schools now, we talked about, they don't give books, they give
Right.
laptops and tablets. So
Hmm.
it's hard to avoid it all, but we do need to find a way to get them back to imaginative play outside. And really, I'd
Yeah.
love to hear your story about what sort of sparked this.
Absolutely. So before I did this back in the 2000s, 2000, what, 2003 to 2008, I was a communications consultant. I worked with big companies and communicated how they should do things, being from stock exchange stuff or signing up for an HMO or PPO, like really fun stuff like that. But I go into companies and learn what their employees needed. Well, toward the end of my career there, I did a lot of wellness programs. And so it was helping people change their behaviors for better. And I found that to be so joyful because I got to see people change and have great things happen to them. At the same time, I'm ending my career in corporate America, and I ended it for this very reason. I meet my now stepkids, and they were 4, 8, and 10. So I'm thrown into meeting these little kids, and I tell them to go outside and play because I'm thinking that's what all kids want to do, right? Because that's what we did. And they came back inside 5 minutes later and told me they didn't know what to do. And it freaked me out, like, literally freaked me out. I thought something was wrong with them, which is totally nice, right? But I went and I started doing research because that's something I did. So I researched it, and it turned out that kids in that generation were being sucked in by screens. And so I left corporate America and I started what I'd call a wellness company with my husband aimed at kids to help parents get them off screens. Long story really short, new entrepreneur. So if anyone is an entrepreneur, but I'm sure listening to this podcast, I got a coach and didn't listen to them because that's what you do, right? You spend all this money on a coach and like, I don't need you. Don't do that. But anyway, we ended up building a website, and the whole idea was to give parents, excuse me, access to a world of activities on a website. Because when I wanted to give my kids activities, I'd have to go out to Google and Pinterest and all those places. And it was so overwhelming. And I would compare myself to the beautiful people doing those things. And that's just real talk right there. And I was like, I can't compete with that. So what I wanted to do is give parents like Google and Pinterest and now Instagram in their hands. So it was instant. So they're not spending a lot of time online. And I'd give them activities, and the activities were tagged with mind, heart, and body points so they could pick which one they wanted their kids to do. And then when the kids do it, they get points, and then the parents get to reward them with things they know their kid wants, like sitting next to dad during movie night. Cute little things like that. What we ended up doing is we built a website. So when you build a website back in 2009, 2010, it was really expensive because they didn't have all the technology they have right now. So we spent a lot of money, raised money to do that. And we came out with that website right when apps came out. So it was just a swing and a miss. At the same time, things changed in our family, and I ended up this is a crazy story, but we lived in Chicago at the time. My husband had to take a job in Indiana because this is, I keep saying, 2008, 2009, 2010. Not a great time for the economy. And their mom moved to California. So I ended up with these three kids essentially by myself. And I just couldn't, I could not do that and be an entrepreneur and do right by them. But what is cool about that, Joe, is that I got the experience of being a mom for a long time, 17 years, battling exactly what you're talking about, these screens. And so I got to do that, and I got to use this program that I am gonna be telling you about with them, and it worked. But it gave me, whereas before I could say I had sympathy for parents because I saw it, now I have empathy because I got to be one competing with these things, and it's really hard. I would say that the difference between then and now is my experience with parenting, but also if I had known then what I know now about what screens are doing to our kids' brains, I would have kept my kids off of them even more than I did. Because when I saw that they couldn't play sounds really fluffy, like, oh, you're just missing what you're doing. No, play is where kids learn the stuff they need to be socially functional adults. So they're out there learning how to talk face to face. All the things that we're seeing a lot of 20-year-olds right now and late teens not able to do because they've been on screens for so long. So I will be quiet for a minute, let you get in a word edgewise.
Yeah, no, I love your story. There's so many truths to it. And again, me and my wife always talk about it. You look at just like a cashier. You go at any local place and there is zero personal
Yeah.
skills. And it's like talking to a wall or nothing at all. And it's just like they're looking at you like you're an idiot. And I'm like, are you even awake? Like, is there something wrong?
Mhm.
But you're absolutely right. It's because they haven't really fully developed the skill set that most of us have because they didn't have the playground time. They didn't
Right.
have the hierarchy and the pecking order of things that come from just being outside in the world. And that's really sad. And a lot of it's I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. I definitely have a layer of guilt for that because we've allowed that to happen. Unfortunately, it's just so prevalent everywhere. It's hard to avoid. But
Well, yeah.
again, there has to be boundaries that have to be set and screen times and things. And in times when you say, no, we're not doing that, you're going to put that down. We're going to go do something else. And you really have to be an active role in that. But speaking of being an active role, I want to say kudos for being like the coolest, most hands-on stepmother ever. I mean, literally, not only did you walk into a ready-made family and take that on because obviously you found your significant other, but then to like create a whole lifestyle and give up a career to build something to help not only those kids but other people's kids. You've essentially become like a stepmother to all children with a
Oh,
program like this. So
that
no, I think
is
it's really cool, and it's something a lot of people would have just walked away from. And I think that's very admirable that you did that. So definitely didn't want to pass that by and not give you a little pat on the
mm,
back because you deserve
thank
it.
you,
But
Joe. That's
really, I,
really
I love the idea of what you're doing. So tell me a little bit about Planet Fassa. Like, where did the name come from? First of all, because I had to ask because, it's
Wait, how do you
very
do
similar
that?
in spelling to my last name, and I'm Massa, and it's not Fassa, it's Fassa, like
Massa.
Mufasa. So tell me
Yes.
about Planet Fassa, the Fassa Tales, and the Fassa Nuggets of Fun.
So basically, what the Planet Fassa is a world of fun activities, stories, service, and awards. So that's the Fassa there. But it came from, and there's books. I have these Fassa Tales, which is Tails, because I was having fun with dogs and cattails. That's why it's named that. But essentially, I wrote 7 stories about animals that my husband and I had adopted and loved throughout our life. And the main character in those books is my cat Mufasa, who I had in my 20s, and he was the weirdest animal I've ever had. He was a feral cat that I happened to adopt, and I don't know what was going on with him, but he was honestly had the biggest imagination of any animal I've ever met. And I said to him one time in my younger days, I said, I'm going to write about you one day. And so when I started doing this, I was like, there it is. I'm going to write about him. But I couldn't call my books Mufasa because of Disney. Like
Sure.
you just don't come up against Disney that way. So I was like,
Yeah, and not
okay, I'll
not
make
a,
it
not to
no,
win.
not a good idea. So I
Yeah.
decided to name it FASA, and then I added that S so that I could use the acronym Fun Activities Story Service Awards. So essentially, what it is right now is I've got the books. 4 are available on Amazon right now. If you get one of the books, they have these animal characters. FASA's in every book, but then you meet other ones. And what it is, it's a story where your kids and you are reading about characters who are doing very imaginative, fun things. I used big words and not that many pictures because I wanted the kids to use their imagination as they're going through the story. And at the end of each story, I give a life lesson. The first one is persistence pays off. And then the whole rest of the book is teaching the kids that lesson in fun, different ways because everybody learns in a different way. So they each have two plot twists where the character gets off track for getting to his happy ending that they read about. So the kids have to do something with their body to get the character back on track. And that's lesson or choices and consequences. So it's just two little things that the kids can learn. Oh, that could lead to this. That's not a good idea. And then I have those hard words that I said. I do a 10-word quiz. I do a word search with those words. And then we have 5 activities called nuggets that are very long activities, but they give like parents a whole day, a week or a month, how long you want to do it, of giving the kids fun activities that relate back to the value that we taught in the story. So the kids are learning in all different ways. For the first one, 2 of the activities are the 5 senses scavenger hunt. So your kids go on the scavenger hunt super easy with their 5 senses, but they're out, they're moving, they're thinking. And then I've got another one called Fear Not, where they face a fear. But we made it super fun. We have them draw the fear and then make it look funny. So they can look at that picture anytime they get scared. But the cool thing about all of them is they got things to talk about. So we may be giving the activities, but then we give talking points for the parents to instill their values. So it's not my values, but those are the nuggets, those activities. And then the books also have coloring pages and hidden pictures like highlights. Remember highlights? So I had to
Oh
put some
yeah,
of those in there. Yeah.
used to love those.
Yeah. So there's the stories. If you get all 7 books, I would say it's like reading a chapter book, but I split them into 7 because I wanted to give those huge amount of activities afterwards. So every book is 70 to 80 pages long of things for you to do. And then to get to the Nuggets of Fun app, the nuggets in the books give you an example of what the activities are in the app. And what I did with that, I kind of explained it before. I wanted to give parents super simple ways to get the Google of activities. So, like I said, now it's an app form. So if you come home, you've got 3 kids, you need to make dinner, but you do not want them to be on screens, but their imagination muscle is small, and I'll get into that in a second. You can go on the Fassa Nuggets of Fun, say, I have 3 kids, I need a half an hour, and they haven't been moving, so give me body activities. And it goes, whoop, here's 10 things for you to do. And then you say to the kids, let's say they want ice cream for dessert. You say, okay, guys, you're going to do this activity, and it's worth 200 Fassa points. And if you earn that, you'll get your ice cream. So it's just a points and rewards system, but it's super easy because you know what your kids love. You're like, maybe they like staying up 5 minutes late. So every day they get home, you say you do a Fassa activity and then you can stay up 5 minutes late. But we're incentivizing them with the things we give them anyway, but we're incentivizing them with play. And what I have learned through all of this, which like I said, I didn't know back when I started this, I do know now, especially because I'm teaching this Break the Chain course for adults. These devices are addictive, you guys. They are made to be addictive. The tech companies hired people, many from a place called it was Stanford University. It's called the Technology Persuasion Lab. So they purposely designed them to get us hooked to them. There are so many things. And so if it's hard for us to stay off with our fully developed brains, imagine what this is doing to kids. And the scary thing that I've learned about the kids, it is rewiring their brains. So if these kids do seem different than us, the cashier that you talked about, they are.
Hmm.
Their
Yeah.
brains are completely different than ours are because they got wired for instant gratification, for always stimulation. That's why they have, this sounds kind of rude, but it's true. They don't have staying power because they're used to getting an instant reward, everything they do. I don't have to do anything, but I get this ding, I get this. And so that's what's going on with a lot of the ADHD because your prefrontal cortex is used to constant stimulation. And if you're scrolling all the time, you're used to constant dopamine hits. So when you want to be calm or anything, your body's going, but where's that screen? If you see the crazy videos of kids freaking out when an iPad is taken away, have you seen those?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them in real life. You see kids
Yes.
at the grocery store and you
Terrible.
see the temper tantrums. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I want to tell people that be like taking the needle away from a heroin addict. Their brain has come to need that. So we were thinking, these kids are just different. Well, they're wired like that. They need it. And so that's what I'm trying to do is in my layman's terms, I just say that their imagination muscle hasn't developed or it's atrophied. So when you and I could go out and find a stick and play for like 4 hours and turn that stick into 50,000 things, and I'm sure you could think of a time you did that, they
I have.
cannot do that. because their brain is
Yeah.
not wired for that. The good news with all of this is we can rewire our brains. So just like an alcoholic can rewire their brain, or, gambling addict, we can rewire our brains and we can rewire their brains. And that's the idea behind my app, because I want them to see a healthy relationship with technology. Mom and dad go on this app, they get information, they put it down, because technology is good. It's just bad when you overuse it, just kind of like anything, right? Dessert is good, but you shouldn't eat it all day. Um, so I want them to see mom and dad go on the app. They can pick one of my characters as their avatar, so that's fun. And they go on there, they pick a character, and then they get to see themselves earning points because that's fun. But they have to earn those points offline, and the rewards they get are offline. So that's the idea behind it.
I think it's brilliant. Is that something that's available on iPhone and Android, or can you
It
download it from your?
It will be. So my
Okay.
beta testing for this is starting in October. So what I screwed up last time is I didn't ask anybody if they, liked what I did. I just figured everybody liked everything I did. I did it in a vacuum. Don't ever do that. So this time we're going to do a beta test in October, and then after that it will be available on Android and iPhone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. And again, I know it seems counterintuitive to have an anti-screen app on a screen, but again, you're right.
Yes.
You have to take what's on there and apply it to the outside. And I think that's really smart. And I love, it's what I think is really brilliant about it and very intuitive is that you are giving a reward for the behavior, which they're
Hmm.
currently getting from their screen, which is that dopamine hit. It's
Right.
almost like the Pavlov dog experiments where every time the
It's
bell dings, it's
it's
creating a
100%.
response.
Yes.
Yeah, so, again, if it worked for dogs, it'll probably work for little kids, and not to sound like they're related, but it's that developmental stage of brain activity and growth, and, there is a lot of truth to what you're saying about the imaginary muscle or the imagination
Mhm.
muscle. You do see a lack of that, and you do see a lack of ability to communicate, going back to the cashier, and again, it always seems they call it the Gen Z stare, they call it, where it's like the lights are on, but no one's home because they don't
Yeah.
know how to even address you. And
Well,
and
and
again,
there's
it's something we shouldn't shame them for. It's something that
no.
we kind of created.
We did, and we didn't know. In the first class that I was saying that I taught this week, so I'll just give a little background about that. So when I was going around and starting to really talk about this again, I had a lot of people I talked to ask me what I'm going to do for adults, and they said, "Well, I'm addicted to my screen too. I'm using it too much." And so I kind of took a step back, and I did realize, Joe, that if we don't get off these things, the kids aren't going to, because they're looking at us. So I created the coaching program called Break the Chain, and the tagline is "Dear phone, it's not me, it's you." And so we're going to break up.
I
I
like
am
that.
not asking people not to use their phone. I just want you to be very intentional about when you're using it and catch yourself when you start doom scrolling. And as I've been doing that, I cannot believe the stuff I have learned. I'm actually floored because they can compare what big tobacco did to what big tech is doing now. So they know how addictive this is. And I really think that they need to put a warning label on it for kids. And I'm not someone who likes that kind of stuff. I am, not a litigious person, but with this, I think parents need to know exactly what's going on with these devices and what's it's doing to their kids, because to me, you might as well be handing your kid a cigarette, because it is going to give them an addiction and it's going to ruin part of their life physically and emotionally. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think you said something there that's very true. Obviously, Big Tobacco knew their product was addictive.
Mhm.
Big Tech knows that this is an
Oh, they know.
addiction, but there's this layer of innocence, or maybe just naivety of a parent saying, "Oh, it's innocent, it's fine, it's not a cigarette, it's not bad. It's just,
Right.
oh, they're watching SpongeBob videos or whatever." But again, you have no idea what they're really consuming when they're looking at the vastness of the internet. There's a million things out there, and you do hear these horror stories about these companies that pass themselves off as innocent little apps, but then they sprinkle in either propaganda or weird things in there, or like dark thoughts in there. And there was,
Mhm.
for a while there, like kids doing evil things, or like, attacking other kids because, well, the app told me I should do it. And they, it's like these weird,
Right.
horrible things. And again, you don't want to think that all of it's malicious, but as a parent, we can't take those chances and just assume that everything out there on their device is going to be a good thing or that has their best interest in mind. That's where
Well,
we have to step in and really monitor what they're doing. And I know that I'm
well,
guilty of not being great at that myself. So
you
that's an
you didn't
accountability thing.
we didn't know so much either. Like, that's the thing. We
Right.
didn't know so much that we do now, but I would say, one of the other things I've learned is these companies know that you're more valuable to them if you are stuck on your device, because then they get to sell you
Yeah.
more. So we're not the customer, advertisers are. So the more they can enrage you, the more they can upset you. That is the easiest emotion to pull out of people, and that's what they're trying to do, because that gets you hooked and it gets your kids hooked, and then they're selling you stuff or taking you down a really dark path. So I would say, and whatever, they know what they're doing because it's all about money. And for people that are like, oh, it's so hard. Well, I promise you, because I saw it with my own kids, if you get your kids playing, they will keep playing because they want to play. And I want everybody who's listening to think about your childhood. You loved that. That's everything. That was everything to us, and we are collectively taking that away from our kids, and we've gotta get them back, not only to have the social skills they need, but to be able to look back at their childhood like we do and have joy, and that's what really started this. I was worried about those kids, and now, like I said, now that I know the science behind it, I'm like, "Oh, no. Uh-uh. Take those away."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I think you said something very powerful there as well about really it's almost kind of like this should be a motivation to make the change today. Really, this
Yeah.
has already opened my eyes quite a bit. But looking back on our childhood, and when my daughter gets to 30 years old, will she look back and have memories of all the fun things she did, or she'll have a memory of her staring at her phone? And
Right.
that's something that I don't want her to have. You're right, we enjoyed those times. They were like sun up to sundown. We were on our bikes, we were out in the neighborhood, in the parks and the swings, playing basketball, baseball, whatever you wanted to do.
Mhm.
There's something about that brought a lot of core values, I think, but also you really develop some very long relationships and
Right.
friendships that come from those shared experiences that you can't emulate on a phone or something
Right.
along those lines.
Yeah, and the other thing you develop, and what I've really noticed, is resilience. And not only resilience emotionally because you get in fights and all this, but physical resilience, which a lot of kids do not have these days because we're not letting them roughhouse. And kids need to go out, play and roughhouse and do things that could hurt them so that they learn how to not get hurt, but also learn what to do when they do get hurt and learn that it's usually not the end. But I've noticed that there's a lot of lack of physical resilience because we've just sheltered them too much. And the shelter, I know what some people are listening to this and saying, well, Shannon, I can't let my kids outside. It's dangerous out there. It is the safest it's ever been. It's the media telling you it's not. They do what, like I said before, they're going to keep you on your phone as long as they can because they can sell you stuff, right? So they're going to put stuff out there that makes you scared. But there are statistics showing that we are safer than we've ever been. And if you are, and then think about you are too worried to let your kid to go outside, but you're letting them do anything on the internet. Which one is more dangerous? The internet has horrible things out there that they can see. So I just want
Yeah.
people to think about that. Yeah. And
No,
and
you're
in
right.
order
And there was no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, in order to do this, we are gonna have to lock arms together, because it's hard to be the only family in the neighborhood who is wanting to do outdoor play. I would suggest that people find somebody else, and the experiment that I would love to see is get to 2 families in the neighborhood and say, "Tuesday nights, one of us will watch the kids." You don't be outside with the kids, just you all have eyes on them. If we're nervous right now, let's build up, we'll build up where we feel more confident with this, but let's start. So on Tuesday, next Tuesday, Joe, I'll watch the kids, and then the Tuesday after that, you watch them. I guarantee other people in the neighborhood will see this start happening, and then you'll get a third and a fourth family. So now, one of you watches every Tuesday, and then you add on Thursday. Because I keep saying this, but kids want to play. They love it, and I also can hear, but when I take it away from my kid, they go crazy. Yes, so does the alcoholic and so does the heroin addict, but you would take those away too. So your child will be okay. And they will have a breakdown, and you know what? It's okay that they have a breakdown. Just understand why they're doing it and love them, and then move them past it.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said because it reminded me of a saying that I heard, and I don't remember who said it. It might not even be like a quote. It was just some text I read somewhere. But you're talking about how they want to keep you on your device because then they can
Mhm.
sell you things. And the reality is if you are not paying for the product like social media,
Yeah,
you are the
the
product.
product. Yeah,
You're the
I finally
product. You're the
understand
one
that.
that's being bought and sold by advertisers, by
Yeah,
platforms, by media organizations that they can feed you whatever they want to feed
they
you. And
want
you're right. The
It's
media
nuts.
does feed you a bunch of things that makes you terrified to go outside. The boogeyman will get you, and it's just
Mhm.
not. There's no facts or statistics to back a lot of that up. Doesn't mean there's not crazy things that happen in the world. If you open real legitimate news, you'll see bad stuff happen every day. But you
Right.
can't live in a bubble because you're worried about what might be. This is a pretty safe time we do live in.
I mean, you could slip in the shower. It's just and you
Yeah, so
gotta
we should
shower.
stop showers.
Yeah.
Yeah, too dangerous.
But yeah, the thing you said about selling to us, I think so I'm writing this course and I'm just doing more and more research because I want to show and really want to help people. And I come downstairs so many times and told my husband, I'm like, oh, I'm going to Congress. I'm going to Congress. This is ridiculous. Like just freaking myself. I'm getting so mad. But the thing that really made me the most angry was exactly what you just said. They will watch your behavior. They know even when you type a response and delete it. They know that. And they're watching what you respond to. They're watching what you linger on. And I am not kidding you guys. This is what they're doing. And so if they find out that 11:30 at night I'm tired and I know I might buy something then, and if they have gotten me because I have body image problems, they will start feeding my feed with body image stuff and then put
Mhm.
something in there as an advertisement right at that point that they have followed me, that they know that's when I'm vulnerable, and that's what they're doing. And they do real-time bids. Who wants in on Shannon right now? I am not kidding. And we
I
are
believe it. It's
ugh,
amazing. We always laugh about, like, even if you're not looking something up, if we start talking about
that's how they
something
do it.
and
That's
then
how
all
they
of a
do it.
sudden the next day your feed has whatever you talked about. So we actually tried that one time and started talking about something completely out of the norm for
Bizarre.
what we would want. Yeah, and
Yeah.
just like something completely like, I don't have a cat. It was like, oh, I just really need some new cat litter or new cat litter box and blah 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 blah. And then literally the next day was like, hey, have you tried Mr. Kitty box? And I'm
Right?
like, they're
Oh,
listening to you.
they're
And I know
listening.
people
They're
like,
listening.
oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. It's like, if you just keep your eyes open, you can see it pretty plain as day. They
Yeah.
listen
And
to you. They follow your activity online.
they do it.
They say,
Yeah.
don't have the trackers, don't have the cookies. You can't control any of that. Anything you do online is there forever and they
It's
watch
there
you.
forever. There are ways, and I'm
Yeah.
teaching this, like I said, there are ways you can change stuff on your phone. Like I turn the sensors off on my phone so my phone doesn't know where I am and it can't see me. Oh, I feel so much better. But yeah, it's freaky. And I know sometimes I'm saying this stuff and I feel like, oh my gosh, she's a conspiracy theorist. But you could see it, you guys. He just gave you a real world example. We're telling you about the kids that can't look into your eyes. This is real stuff. And just watched a thing. I think it was in 2015. I may have the date wrong, but even one of the execs from Facebook came out and they said they used big tech's playbook. They are purposely addicting us. So I want you guys to hear that and I want you to protect your kids from it. And it may be a lift because you're like, oh, I use this as a babysitter, but it's a bad babysitter. And if you get your kids playing, you won't have to babysit them so much because they'll be like we were and they will take themselves outside and they will do what I said, the stick thing. That stick will be a wand and it will be, I don't even know what else. I can't think of it right now. But yeah, they'll have fun. I need my imagination muscle apparently built.
No, you're doing exactly what you need to be doing right now, and that's sharing this information and sort of leading the charge on this because a lot of people do sweep this under the rug, myself
Mhm,
included, for many years. And it was, again, yeah, I can play the we didn't know better card, and it's true. There's a lot of truth to that, but also as you get further away from it, there's a lot of things you don't know right out of the gates. Like, will this
mhm.
medication work right away? Will this work right away? You have to take time to let it, like, digest into the system so you can see the after effects of that. We're starting to see the side effects of the technology
Yes,
dopamine,
absolutely. You
overwhelm
said this.
invasion of our children. We're starting to see the repercussions of that now. And now, if we don't take action in 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, what will that look like? Because
Right,
technology, as we all know, is not going the other way. It's getting
right.
more advanced, it's getting
And
more entwined into culture.
entwined with us. Yeah, and
Hmm.
I want people to hear me. Technology, and I said this before, but it's awesome. I am not screen free. I just think people should be more screen light, adults alike, because it sucks us in and it really does take away your joy. If you think about a day that you have been working all day on your screen, just, doom scrolling or just being on your phone, even if you're not necessarily doom scrolling. If you take that day and you compare it to a day that you went out and you went and did something and didn't look at your phone, which day do you feel better? It's
It's a
always the day when
no-brainer.
you're not connected. Yeah, exactly. So, it's just it's something that I think is really important for all of us, but tech free because without technology, I wouldn't know Joe. You know, so
Yeah.
there's really great stuff. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast, but it's using it in the way that's healthy for you.
Yeah, and I think you just said something really insightful. When you get to take a vacation, for example,
Mhm.
when you get time off of work and you get a vacation, the whole point is to get away from your devices and go
Yes,
be on a beach or at a mountain cabin lake somewhere and off your phone and with your family and presence. So in our leisure time, when we actually build up enough free time from your job to take a little slice of freedom, typically most people go somewhere where they can be off their devices. So
exactly.
subconsciously, we're already acknowledging that when we have free time that we can enjoy, we should be off of those things and be present in that moment. But then in our daily life, we still come back and it's just like, I had another podcast with the gentleman I told you about. I'm trying to connect you on his show. We talked about it. It's like you see all the videos too of people just looking at their phone, walking into traffic or falling into potholes
Oh,
because no social situation awareness at all. They just are so consumed they can't walk 30 feet without checking their feed or checking if they got an extra like or whatever. And
yeah,
it's
and
it's
that's
really sad.
it is sad, and that's really where this changed for me, like I said, a few weeks ago when I realized this was like an addiction, because then you have more empathy for people, but you're also like, "Hey, you can change. You can rewire this," and it will be hard for some people, but I think the biggest thing is if we know the truth about it, that's powerful because then you are like, "Okay, I don't want this to be happening to me. I don't want this to be happening to my kids. I don't want this to be happening to my parents." Our parents are getting sucked into these stupid games. It's like, and
Yeah.
they didn't have it at all. So that's really important to me because the other thing is, and this I'm kind of going off the to a different place though, but the other thing that's going on with all of us being on social media and all this all the time is, Joe and I probably have, let's say he and I each have 10 characteristics. We probably have 7 in common. We may have 3 that are very different. Social media is going to push those 3 and make us not like each other. But if Joe and I sit down and talk to each other, we don't talk about those 3. And that is what's
Yeah.
going on too. I think if people just would get to know each other, we do not dislike each other nearly as much as the world is telling us we do.
I
You
love
know?
that because I
Yeah.
see that all the time. And
Yeah.
you can attribute it to politics or religion or any other act. But again, you're right. Those are typically the big main differences between people. But like you are a caring and doting mother and stepmother. I'm a caring and loving father. You're a good hard worker. I'm a good hard worker. You have morals. I have morals. So there's a lot more in common. If you were to do the old typical Venn diagram, we have a lot more in that little slice in the middle than we would lead ourselves to believe. But that actually takes me to 2 questions. I want to circle back about your break the chain coaching
Yeah.
course because this is geared to adults. And again, one thing I want to hear a little bit more just about how that works because we kind of glossed over that. But my question is, do you see a lot of people? Because you just mentioned about if you know the truth, then it's more powerful. Like now that we know the truth, now we can do the change. Do you come across people that sort of put their head in the sand, the old ostrich, where they're like, no, it's not bad. No, they fight against it because they don't want to make the change. Like, hey, technology's great. My kid can be on it 24 hours a day. It's okay. Do you
Oh,
ever
yeah,
get any resistance?
I haven't yet, but I'm sure I will, and there's always gonna be people like that, but, there's always people you can tell them everything. There's people who still smoke cigarettes. So, some people are like, "I just don't care," and you can't do anything about those people, so, I'm sure I will, but right now, no, most people I talk to are going, "Oh my gosh, like, this is bad." Now, the time between realizing it's bad and then figuring out how to do something about it, that's where I'm hoping to provide tools that can help you. Because you can't just tell somebody to give up a bad habit and just expect them to do it without giving them tools to do it. Because it's hard, you know? So I'm trying to give people tools that can easily give them something else to do. Because I don't want to restrict you from stuff. I want to give you things to do that you want to do more. Because
So
I
an
think that's
alternative.
powerful, and it's an alternative that becomes a healthy habit versus your bad habit, and you feel so good when you do this that you long to do it more. Because, think about when you eat if you ate fast food every day for a while, you start getting used to it, right? And you're like, "Ugh," and then all of a sudden you're like, "I'm gonna eat healthy," and you get healthy. When you go back and eat that fast food, oh my gosh,
It's
it's like a
gross.
lump in your stomach, it's awful. You're like, "How did I do
Yeah.
this?" I think that's what was gonna happen with this. So you're just like, "Oh, I did doom scroll today," and we're all gonna do it, but then after you get off it, you're like, "Man, that felt horrible. I don't wanna do that again." So it's that kind of thing. So in my class, Break the Chain, it's a 4-week class. And what I do is I have a live session on Monday nights. And if people can't make it, you get the recording. And I'm walking through the truths about this stuff. I'm showing uh, congressional testimony. I'm, telling people like this is what's going on. The infinite scroll is based off of experiments. Like it is. It's a behavioral thing. They have behavioral scientists working for these tech companies. This algorithm is doing that. So I'm giving them knowledge because knowledge is power, right? But then every week I give simple challenges and homework to give people ways that they can start breaking the chain and getting back their time. I want them to know what's going on and then be intentional about using their phone. One of the things I'm having them do this week is list all the ways we use our phones. I mean, it's nuts. I'm already listed 25 things. So
Yeah.
we use it for everything because you can. The problem is you pick it up for one thing and you end up doing 5 other things because it's every tool. So right now it's an environment. So I'm teaching people to turn it into a tool. So what I'm having them do is write everything down. And it's kind of a funny exercise, but if you say something out loud, you recognize it more. So what I'm going to have them do next week, easy, every time you pick up your phone, I want you to state out loud what you're using it for and then put it back down. So I'm picking it up. I'm using this for email. Put it back down. I'm using this as a flashlight. And even if you're going to switch right away, put it down so you realize what tool it is and you don't get sucked into the environment. So it's simple things like that. I have after week 2, I'm going to show them different ways they can train the algorithm so that it isn't feeding them stuff that they don't like, how to turn off their sensors, how to use DND, do not disturb, sleep modes, all these different things, challenging them to not pick up their phone for the first half hour when they wake up. And I'm giving them alternatives to do. So just simple things. But that my goal is to give people at least 1 hour back a day that they are doing something that is like a dream hour. So I've had people be like, I've had my guitar sitting here for 5 years. So let's figure out how to pick up that guitar, put your phone down, and if you play it 1 hour a day, that's 365 hours in a year. Can you imagine?
Well,
So it's
imagine
think
the skill set you could build.
yeah.
There's another great uh, story I read about a guy who does the 30 by 30. In 30 days, if you spend 30 minutes every day for 30 days, that's 900
Mhm.
minutes of practice on something that would probably in that time frame make you more than proficient at it compared to
Exactly.
the next person. So I
That's
like
it.
that you're blocking off time to do something creative or something productive
Something,
or
yeah.
something for
Even
yourself, even if it's
reading
downtime.
even it's now that reading a book. Can you imagine the conversations you have if you spend 360 hours reading a book? 365, but can you imagine the amount of books you could read, the cool conversations you start having, the things you would learn? You could learn a language. I mean, there's so many things. And I think once you start doing that and you feel good in one area, let's say you do start learning a language, maybe you start baking then. And all of a sudden you're filling your life back up with things that make us happy versus staying on screens. So that's what Break the Chain is.
I think it's amazing. How can people find Break the Chain? Is that obviously your website, which we'll link to this, is sscoulter.com. Do you have a separate site for Break the Chain, or is that found right there?
It's found right there. It's under the tab coaching, and then there's a November pilot. I'm doing a September pilot now, and then a November pilot starting November 3rd. And the reason I'm doing pilots is because of what I learned last time with I asked people. So I'm doing it and just asking for feedback. How can this be better? But that's what I'm doing. I'd love people to join. And it's like I said, if you can't make the live sessions, you get the recording within 24 hours, and you'll get all the homework and everything. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and you're doing it right. You're doing the feedback and getting the people's opinions because you're right. And I'm guilty of this too. I have built things in a vacuum that I was
It's
like,
not a
this is
smart choice.
brilliant. And then you roll it out and it's like, wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Nobody
Yeah.
cares at all. And you're like, oh, what the heck, man? I thought this was an awesome idea. So it's important to, if you're in the coaching space primarily or builder or an innovative person, get some feedback because
Get some
you'll thank
feedback.
yourself in the long run as well. But I think what you're doing, even without any feedback and having gone through the course myself, or even, obviously I don't need the Fassa Tales because I'm a grown man, but I think it is something that is so needed right now. And it's something that's really overlooked. And we're
Mhm.
always on the pursuit for our own personal growth and development. This show is about personal growth and development, but we don't always apply that downstream to our kids. And I
Right.
think that's where we're really making the biggest mistake because they're the ones that are going to be taking care of this earth after we're done with it. And their
Mhm.
kids will be the next ones. So if we teach these good behaviors and habits going downstream, instead of worrying about tunnel vision in front of us, we're creating a better long-term scenario for the environment, our communities, our planet, our everything. So,
Everything.
like I
Yeah.
said, I think this is such an amazing idea.
Thank you, Joe. I'm excited about it. I'm really excited to see the impact that it will have on people. That's why I'm doing this because like I said, when I met my stepkids, I was like, "Oh my god, they're missing the joy of childhood. They're missing it." And that's just a tragedy to me. So I want to help parents help their kids not miss that. And I think really the parents having the app, I hope that them doing the activities with the kids, the ones they want to, will build their imagination muscle back up too because I don't think we're having enough fun. I don't think we're spending enough time having fun.
I was just going to say that, and I think there's two really positive things that can come from the parents being involved too. You're right. We're always believed, and we're trained and groomed to believe that we're busy 24 hours a day, just
Right.
not enough time to get all our work done. The work, the work, the work. We work 60 hours a week, and if we're lucky, we'll get 1 week off in the whole year. And we've just become to accept that as the normal way life is.
Right.
That should not be life. You should not give every amount of your time and freedom and life, which is so limited anyways. Why would we give our entire life to just punching a clock card,
Right.
punching in
And
and punching out? And what
and I
else
would
we're
say
not doing?
well, I would say if people push back on that, like I have to work the 60 hours, I guarantee that one of the reasons now there are exceptions. So please hear that. But one of the reasons people are so busy is because they're wasting time multitasking, quote unquote, but they're not multitasking. They're doing mental fragmentation. That's another thing that I just looked up. Because of our screens, we change tasks every 3 minutes, and it takes us 23 minutes to get back into deep focus. So think about how inefficient we're being. So if we can learn that, I think you could scale back on how busy you are, So
Yeah, and
both
people
pieces.
do call it multitasking. I call it doing a bunch of things poorly
Yeah.
simultaneously because
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that. But what I
Yeah.
was going to say also, the one thing that I
Sorry.
think really is powerful for parents to do when they're in these activities with their kids is they're now getting time back, quality time back with their kids. It's not just, hey, dad's too busy, I'm working, I got to go do that next email, that next presentation, that next podcast, whatever it is, and I'm myself very busy. Again, some of it's self-induced, some of it's by necessity. I run businesses as being a self-employed person. I can't rely on someone feeding me a paycheck, so I do have to stay busy. But you're right. There's definitely times when I'm like, okay, I'm doing this very important project, and then something
I
funny came
know.
on my phone, and now I'm going to watch that for 10 minutes because my brother sent me a YouTube video that I
Right.
have to watch right now. And
Yeah. And then
it's
you knock yourself
priority.
off the rails. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
what
and then it
happens.
takes for maybe I won't even get back into it today. I mean, well, tomorrow's pretty wide open,
Tomorrow's
so
fine. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
we make ourselves much busier than we need to be. And again, I think a lot of that's by design. We were
Mhm.
given it something that makes us feel that way because we are the product. We are the
We're the
ones they're
product.
trying to get. They want our
Yeah.
time.
They do. They do because then they get our money. I mean, I buy stuff I don't need all the time. So that's why I said my
Literally.
my class is full of grace because I'm going through it with all of you. So I'm trying to unaddict myself. So, yeah.
And those are the best classes that you take, in my opinion. It's always the person either going through it or that's been through it. I mean, when you go going back to like the alcoholics or the addicts,
Mhm.
the people that lead those classes, they're not the
Right.
person that's never had a drink in their life. They're the
Right.
recovered alcoholic that's like, dude, I know exactly where you're at. I was there. I lived on
Yes.
the street. I lost my family, my job, my
Yeah.
sanity for the drink or for the drug. So those are the people you learn the most from, the people that are walking the walk and not just talking about it.
Right. Right. So I'm excited for all of us. I really do think that this is going to be helpful for people and just give you a little bit of light back. And I think the best thing's gonna be is that we're looking at each other in the eyes and smiling again, because I miss that. Like you said, everyone's
Yeah,
got their
it's
phone now.
rare. It's rare anymore. And
Yeah,
again, the even if they're looking at you, it's like the Gen Z stare where it's like lights are on but no one's home and I'm like,
everyone's hope.
hello, and I make it a point to, be sort of over the top. My wife always has to kick me. Like when we're at a grocery store somewhere and they don't talk, I will be
Me,
super
right?
extra and very talk. How are you? Hell, tell me about your day. And they're like looking
Yeah.
at me like, who is this dude? Please go away. And I'm like, I'm going to be very obnoxious about it, but there's a better way to do it. And I would imagine that that's teaching through example and also just showing that this really is happening. You
Mhm.
really are being trained and groomed and sent all the stuff that you don't need because they do watch you. They do know what you're doing. And
Yeah,
the way to break free from that is to first recognize it. And then B, you're right. You got to have an alternative. Okay, well, if I'm not going to be my phone, what can I do? okay, here's a list of ideas that we can go
Yes.
do today. Even if it's 1 hour, or like you said, Tuesday nights. At Tuesday, after school, all till we go to bed, Tuesdays, we don't do
We don't
devices.
do the phone.
This is
Yep.
our outdoor day, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
So have an alternative, but recognize the problem, and then talk to Shannon about how you can be better, because I know I'm going
Yes.
to certainly follow through with this.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for having me and talking to me about this and just spreading the word that it's something we can all beat. Like just like they beat big tobacco. Like we can we can beat this and make them be honest with us. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for putting this program together and really opening some eyes. I know you definitely have opened my eyes today. So I'll leave you with one thing. What is one piece of actionable advice you could give to a parent today or an adult today that's not going to go through the class? Say they're like, no, I don't want to do the class. If you could just say one quick piece of advice, what would that be for them today?
Okay. I would say put friction between yourself and your phone. So a lot of times if you wanted like Joe, if you want to do work for an hour, I would say to you or anybody doing this, put your phone on do not disturb, but don't keep it right next to you because mine's right next to me and I will turn do not disturb off to look at it. Okay. So what I do now is I put it way behind me. So I actually have to get up off my chair and consciously walk over there to pick it up. That has completely stopped me from the mindless pickup. And I'm intentionally going, hey, I have to make a phone call now. I'm going to go get it. That is such an amazing thing. So just a little friction between you and your device really will make a big difference. And if you are worried about do not disturb, if you're a parent and you're worried the school is going to call through, do not disturb has breakthrough calls. So you can put yourself, your spouse, the school, and your kids, they will break through. You'll get that phone call even if your phone is on do not disturb. But everything else, every other notification, every other text, those won't come through. So you'll have peace, but you'll, like I said, you'll know the important calls will come through. And then just put it somewhere where you actually, and if you have a hard time on the couch, put it in a different room. Because then you have to consciously get your butt up and go to the different room to grab the phone. You'll be like, is this really worth it? Probably not. So that is my little advice.
Good advice it is. Yeah, no, I like that one, and there's a lot of truth to that. It just don't make it easy,
Yeah.
and I'll give one quick example before we wrap up. This was a video I watched a long time ago. It was a TV program actually, and it was a guy that was morbidly obese and was really focused on losing weight. So what he did, his idea, and really I thought it was brilliant. He was like a mile and a half away from his local store, so he took all food out of his house. His food was gone. So when he wanted to eat, he had to physically go walk and get that one meal, that 1.5 miles, walk back, prepare it.
That's
And then he would buy
awesome.
one meal at a time. And then there was no snacking ability. There was no ability to go to the pantry and just binge. He goes, okay, I want to eat again. Well, now I got to go walk
Yep.
another
Yep.
mile and a half. And as a extremely heavy person, that was no easy task. His transformation was, as you could imagine, mind
That's
blowing,
amazing. Yeah.
but that's the exact idea you're presenting there. And it could work for a lot of areas in your life. And
Yeah.
you just have to recognize what the problem is and then create that friction. So I really like that one.
Yeah. And in the opposite sense. And if you want to do something, for instance, if you want to eat more fruit, put the fruit out on your table. So like you just go and grab it. So put something between you and your phone. If you're like, every time I'm going to get off the phone, I'm trying to get in shape, put like a 5 pound weight and you're like, oh, I'm going to grab the weight instead. Maybe not 5 pounds. Okay. If you're a man, like a 20 pound
I
weight.
got you. 5 pounds. I'd
Me-
look like a stud
you're
over
like,
here. Yeah,
"Hey," yeah.
that's right. I
But
just
meaning
did
like,
900 curls. No
yeah,
big deal. Yeah.
sorry. But like
Well,
put
Shannon,
something in
I
the yeah.
know. I think this is a brilliant program you put together. Break the
Thank you.
chain, the Fassa Tales. I'm going to make sure links are everywhere around this video. You can find her at sscoulter.com. Again, I'll make sure that those are available for you to find. Really loved having you on the show. When you do get your podcast up and running, please let me
Yes.
know. Would love to share that with our audience as well in our podcast network.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me.